It happens every morning. The alarm rings, you get up, you commute, you sit at a desk for 8 hours, you commute back, you eat, you sleep. And then you do it all over again. The 8-hour workday. It feels like a law of nature, doesn't it? Like gravity, or the fact that printers never work when you need them to. We assume 8 hours is the perfect amount of time for a human to be productive. But have you ever stopped and asked, why? Why exactly 8 hours? Not 6, not 10. Why 8? Was it science? Some genius discovery about the human brain? Nope. The 8-hour day wasn't designed for your health. It wasn't designed for your happiness. It was a compromise, born out of riots, a radical socialist slogan, and a car salesman who wanted to sell more Model Ts. Oh, and it starts with children as young as 5 years old working 16-hour shifts in factories. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to look at your 9 to 5 completely differently. Stick around. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel where we rip apart the everyday things we never question. If you're new here, smash subscribe right now, because this one's about to hit hard. Now, let's get into it. Here's what you're probably wondering right now. Who decided we work 8 hours? What did people work before this? Was it based on any real science? Why hasn't it changed in over 100 years? Should we still be working 8 hours today? I'm going to answer every single one of these. Let's start at the beginning. To understand the 8-hour day, we have to look at what came before it. And trust me, you wouldn't have liked it. Welcome to the Industrial Revolution. Late 1700s, early 1800s. Factories are popping up everywhere. Steam engines cost a fortune. And if you're a factory owner, you have one goal. Keep those machines running 24/7. Maximum profit, minimum cost. The standard workday back then wasn't 8 hours. It was 10, sometimes 12, often 16 hours a day. 6 days a week. Workers, including children as young as 5 years old, dragging themselves through shifts that never seemed to end. No breaks, no safety rules, no weekends. Imagine working from sunrise until long after sunset with barely a break to eat, only to wake up and do it again. This wasn't hustle culture. This was death. People were literally dying from exhaustion, losing limbs in machines, getting sick from toxic fumes. Accidents were constant. And here's the worst part. This was considered normal. If you complained, you were fired, and there were 100 other desperate people ready to take your place. This was the reality for millions of workers, until one man decided enough was enough. And here's what's crazy. He wasn't a worker. He was a factory owner. Enter Robert Owen. Now here's what makes this story wild. Robert Owen was a wealthy Welsh textile manufacturer. He was one of them, the bosses. But unlike other factory owners, Owen actually cared about his employees. In 1817, Owen looked at his exhausted workforce and realized something profound. Dead workers aren't very productive. Revolutionary thinking, I know. So he proposed a radical split of the 24-hour day. He coined a slogan that would become legendary. 8 hours labor, 8 hours recreation, 8 hours rest. 8, 8, 8. Simple, symmetrical, revolutionary. He didn't just talk about it, he actually cut hours in his own factories. And guess what happened? His workers became more productive. Fewer accidents, better quality work, lower turnover. He proved that treating workers like humans was actually good for business. But here's the problem. Almost nobody listened. Other factory owners called him crazy, idealistic, bad for business. It would take another 100 years of blood, sweat, and literal battles before the 8-hour day became reality. And the battle, it got ugly. For the next few decades, the 8-hour day wasn't a policy, it was a war. The fight wasn't won in boardrooms, it was won in the streets. Workers began to organize. They formed unions. They went on strike, and the pushback from owners was brutal. The tipping point happened in Chicago. May 1st, 1886, hundreds of thousands of workers across America walked out, demanding Owen's 8-hour day. A few days later, on May 4th, at a rally in Haymarket Square, a peaceful protest turned violent. A bomb was thrown at the police. Police fired back. Gunshots everywhere. It was a disaster. People died. Labor leaders were arrested and executed. This became known as the Haymarket Affair. But here's the twist. The Haymarket Affair turned the 8-hour day from a request into a global rallying cry. This is actually why the rest of the world celebrates Labor Day on May 1st, International Workers' Day. It honors the workers who fought and died for the rights we have today. Think about that next time you clock out at 5 p.m. People literally gave their lives for that. But even with the riots, businesses held out. They thought cutting hours meant losing money. The 8-hour day still wasn't law. It was still just a dream. They needed someone to prove them wrong. Someone with money, power, influence. Enter the last person you'd ever expect. It took a capitalist to finish what the socialists started. Henry Ford. Yes, that Henry Ford, the car guy. In 1914, Ford shocked the entire business world. He didn't just implement the 8-hour day at Ford Motor Company, he cut shifts from 9 hours down to 8, made it 5 days a week, and he doubled his workers' pay to $5 a day. Wall Street thought he had lost his mind. Other business owners said he would go bankrupt. But Ford was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. He wasn't doing this out of kindness. He was a businessman, and he discovered two things. One, when workers are rested, they make fewer mistakes. Productivity went up. Accidents went down. Worker turnover dropped by 370%. Profits increased. Ford understood something revolutionary. Tired workers make mistakes. Tired workers are slow. Tired workers quit. But rested workers, they show up, they focus, they care. And here's the genius part. He realized that if his workers were working 16 hours a day for pennies, they didn't have the time or the money to buy his cars. By giving them 8 hours of recreation and a living wage, he wasn't just creating a workforce, he was creating a customer base. He invented the modern middle-class consumer. Ford's profits exploded. Within 2 years, his profit margins doubled. And suddenly, every other company had to adopt the 8-hour day just to compete for workers. When Ford's success became impossible to ignore, governments finally started paying attention. In 1919, the International Labor Organization officially recommended the 8-hour workday as a global standard. Countries around the world started passing laws, and in 1938, the United States passed the Fair Labor Standards Act. Now here's something most people don't know. This law didn't actually ban working more than 8 hours. What it did was make it expensive for bosses. It mandated overtime for anything over 40 hours a week. The 9 to 5 was officially locked in. It took over 100 years, countless protests, strikes, deaths, but finally the 8-hour workday became the norm. But here's the thing, that was almost a century ago. So why are we still doing it? So that's why you work 8 hours. Not because of biology, but because a Welsh socialist wanted balance, unions fought and died for it, and Henry Ford wanted to sell more cars. But here's the question for today. The 8-hour day was designed for factory work, physical labor, assembly lines, building Model Ts. But most of us don't work in factories anymore. We work with our brains, emails, meetings, creative thinking. Studies now show that most people are only truly productive for about 3 to 4 hours of actual focused work per day. The rest? Pretending to look busy, sitting in pointless meetings, scrolling through emails. We now have the internet, AI, automation. The world has completely changed. Some companies are already experimenting with 6-hour workdays, 4-day work weeks, results-only work environments. And guess what? Many of them are seeing the same results Ford saw 100 years ago. Same productivity, happier workers. If Robert Owen were alive today, do you think he would still be asking for 8 hours? Or would he be asking for 4? Alright, that's the real story behind the 8-hour workday. But here's something I didn't mention in this video. The weekend. The 2-day weekend you take for granted. That has an equally wild origin story, and it involves religion, factory shutdowns, and one very strange connection to beer. I'll see you in the next one.